A poor young woman lives on the fringes of society, with no powerful family to back her, no status, and no one to rely on. Her life revolves solely around surviving day by day until an unexpected incident turns everything upside down. By sheer chance, she becomes the holder of a fortune worth trillions of dollars, an inheritance powerful enough to shake the global elite to its core. From that moment on, the greedy members of a powerful dynasty unite in viewing her as a threat. Instead of being protected, she becomes the target of a relentless manhunt. This girl went to a job interview and kicked the recruiter. She then stopped when her foot was only 1 centimeter away from the other person's face. However, the recruiter still couldn't help but reflexively fall to the floor. The girl hurriedly went to help him up. Then she calmly explained that this was a simulation when the attacker suddenly attacked. It turned out that Young Ran was applying for the position of personal bodyguard for the president. Although her profile did not stand out compared to other candidates, behind the screen, the president showed great interest. He ordered Assistant Lee to hire this person. Although a bit shocked, the assistant had to follow the order. From now on, Young Ran will be by the president's side 24 hours a day. Hearing this, Young Ran was very happy because she was in a state of severe financial shortage, and the income of the only personal bodyguard for the president of a trillion-dollar corporation could not be trivial. However, later the company investigated and found out that Young Ran had a criminal record. On her first day at work, she was fired. She immediately fell into despair. The heels of the cheap shoes she was wearing suddenly broke. She didn't know that her miserable appearance was seen by Chairman Ga. That night, when Young Ran returned to her rented room, she was surprised to see her biological mother coming out. It turned out that she had come to steal the rent money that Young Ran was about to pay the landlord. The mother also said that when she became rich, she would repay her daughter. This promise Young Ran had heard for 10 years. She tried to question her biological mother in the hope that she would wake up, but unexpectedly, the evil mother slapped Young Ran. She also scolded her daughter for being a bastard. Young Ran said that she was not worthy of being a mother. Young Ran's mother immediately told Young Ran that if that was what she thought, then she shouldn't call her mother anymore. Anyway, she was tired of being called mother by Young Ran. Young Ran replied that she was not born willingly, but Young Ran's mother replied that she was not willingly becoming a mother either. What a pitiful girl. When she returned to work, Young Ran had no idea that her fate was about to change completely. Chairman Ga flipped through her disciplinary records. When she was in 9th grade, Young Ran had stolen a pack of sanitary napkins. Just because of this, she was sentenced to 6 months in prison. Chairman Ga was puzzled. It was just a pack of sanitary napkins, but such a severe punishment. The assistant explained that if a person had no power and no one to guarantee, such things were common. Other than this incident, Young Ran did not have any other bad points. However, Young Ran's credit history was very bad. She had quite a lot of debts. However, after investigating, the assistant discovered that all of those debts were secretly held by Young Ran's mother under her daughter's name. If a Korean owes more than 50 million won, it is common sense that he or she no longer wants to live. However, Young Ran is still trying to survive. Chairman Ga was moved by this strong-willed girl. He even saw her as a person. Chairman Ga immediately expressed that he often liked to associate with people with many weaknesses like Young Ran, because no matter how irritable or angry he was, she would not dare to leave arbitrarily. Just like that, Young Ran, who used to be a worker, became the personal bodyguard of a tycoon. However, she still did not have the opportunity to meet Chairman Ga. When she went to the kitchen to find food in the middle of the night, she realized that something was wrong in this luxurious villa. There seemed to be something hidden behind the mirror in the cabinet. She reached out to check, and sure enough, she discovered a hidden camera behind the cabinet. On the other end of the camera was Chairman Ga's private room. But he didn't stop Young Ran. He just quietly watched her search the entire villa. Until he discovered that there were many cameras, Young Ran revealed a worried expression. The next day was the memorial service for Chairman Ga's wife. His son and daughter also attended the ceremony. His eldest daughter was not a gentle person. When she passed by Young Ran, she almost wanted to see through Young Ran's thoughts. Faced with the concern of his eldest daughter, Chairman Ga's reaction was also cold. It seemed that there was something secret between them that couldn't be said. When Chairman Ga offered flowers to his wife, his eldest daughter suddenly stepped forward and knocked the bouquet of flowers from her father's hand. The scene became awkward for a moment. She then placed her bouquet on the grave. In a cold tone, she said that even though they had only been married for a year, he should know what kind of flowers his wife liked. Her mother liked noble flowers like peonies. The driver told Young Ran that these two people were not actually Chairman Ga's biological children. It turned out that 30 years ago, Chairman Ga was just an ordinary man. He later married the late female chairman. She raised 2 children by herself, but a year after they got got married, the female chairman passed away. Afterwards, the Gasan group, under the efforts of Chairman Ga, became the #1 group in Korea. A few years ago, Chairman Ga brought home a biological daughter who was only 19 years old. He later sent his biological daughter to study abroad. Unexpectedly, this daughter became a playboy and drug addict. In the end, she passed away at a young age. The driver also kindly reminded Youngran that her youngest son, Sonwoo, was a fool, so she didn't need to pay attention to him. However, Youngran must be careful with her eldest daughter, Sunyong, because the housekeeper is Sunyong's subordinate. All of Chairman Ga's actions are reported to Sunyong, especially when Chairman Ga has a woman by his side. He can leave at any time. The division of the family property will become very complicated. On the surface, everyone is laughing and talking happily, but behind their backs, they are all waiting for the day he passes away, all because they want to divide the family property. Obviously, Chairman Ga also knows what everyone is thinking. After the ceremony ended, he left the scene. From the beginning, he was always on guard against his wife's 2 illegitimate children. He even refused to eat the meals that the housekeeper occasionally cooked. He was only afraid that one day Sunyong would lose all humanity and poison him. He chose to eat instant noodles instead of rice cooked by Sunyong's subordinates. At this time, the assistant discovered that on the day Youngran came to the villa, the number of times Chairman Ga laughed had increased. Chairman Ga's smile was all because of Youngran. That night, a phone call woke Youngran up, and the caller was Chairman Ga. Perhaps because he knew he didn't have much time left, Chairman Ga decided to reveal the secret of the villa to Youngran. A secret door opened behind Youngran. After a moment of surprise, Youngran walked inside. It turned out to be a room full of control screens. The person sitting in the middle was Chairman Ga. He said that he ate and slept here. Youngran probed and asked if someone wanted to harm him, so he did that. Chairman Ga didn't answer directly. He just told the story of his biological daughter. It turned out that when Chairman Ga was still poor, he had a short, simple love with a girl. After breaking up, the girl gave birth to a child alone and then left the baby in an orphanage. It wasn't until she was 19 that President Ga found his daughter. He then sent his daughter abroad to study. Everyone rumored that she had suddenly died from overindulgence. But President Ga said that wasn't true. His daughter had actually been framed. He was worried that something bad would happen to his daughter, so he sent her abroad. But he didn't expect his daughter to be framed by a bad person. He later investigated and found out that the culprit was a woman. Photos taken at the scene by reporters showed that there was another culprit, Sunyong. The reason, of course, was money. The presence of President Ga's biological daughter had prevented his wife's stepchildren from inheriting the property. However, the doctor had recently said that he only had 6 months left to live, so he was determined to carry out his plan of revenge, and he had to use the method they feared the most. The president then opened another secret compartment. Inside was a large safe. This was the amount of money that the chairman had secretly saved for the past 30 years. Youngran had never seen so much wealth. She immediately thought of many things. There was a rumor in the bodyguard world that if they worked as bodyguards for rich people, they would sometimes receive large sums of money and assassination orders. However, Chairman Ga only took out a small box and gave it to Youngran. She guessed what was inside the box. Unexpectedly, it was a diamond ring. Chairman Ga unexpectedly proposed to Youngran. In Chairman Ga's revenge plan, Youngran was the key player. 15 years ago, his biological daughter was harmed by his wife's 2 illegitimate children. Now he wanted to make Youngran the new heir. This would make them strike again. At that time, he could set a trap to make them take responsibility. In return, Youngran would receive hundreds of billions of assets from the chairman, and this was Chairman Ga's plan. However, Youngran immediately refused. Just as she was packing her things to leave, her mother called. She knew that Youngran had become a billionaire's bodyguard, so she called to ask for 10 million won. The pressure from her family made Youngran feel crazy. At the same time, it also made her completely change her mind. She turned around and returned to the chairman's private room. Then she quickly put on the diamond ring. After that, Youngran had to sign a property agreement. This contract would take effect after the chairman passed away. At that time, the company would elect a new chairman for Gasan Group. The contract clearly required that 3 months later, at the Gasan Group's reorganization shareholders meeting, Youngran had to vote to completely remove the 2 illegitimate children. Only by doing this can she truly inherit all of Chairman Ga's assets. What's more important is that the inheritance agreement only takes effect after Chairman Ga's death, and Chairman Ga's departure must be carried out by Youngran herself within 3 months. It's clear that Chairman Ga is forcing her to keep her promise. Youngran feels regretful. Even if she has to give up her assets, she doesn't want to kill anyone. The assistant said that every choice comes with a price. If she doesn't pay the price, she will still have to continue living a dead-end life. She has no other choice. The cruel mother and the pressure from the huge debt have long since made Yongran unable to bear it. At the same time, the entire process of Chairman Ga's departure will be recorded. If Yongran failed to fulfill the terms of the contract, the manager would personally go to the police station to hand over the footage. In other words, when the police knew that Yongran was the cause of the chairman's death, the inheritance agreement would also be invalid. The manager asked one last time if she understood. Yan confirmed that she understood, and all the planning officially began. The first step was to register the marriage. Chairman Ga's assistant was already at the marriage registration office. The female employee was surprised to see that the 67-year-old chairman was marrying a young girl. The female employee immediately asked if his children agreed. Yan asked why the female employee did not ask her if she had asked her parents' permission. In short, the two people who wanted to get married were both adults, and they were even more than qualified to start a family. Seeing the serious attitude of the assistant, the female employee did not dare to ask any more questions. After taking the marriage registration photo, Yongran seemed to have changed into a different person. She quickly assumed the role of a chaebol's wife. In the afternoon, she had to inspect the factory. While Chairman Ga was busy, Yongran arranged for Assistant Lee to go find her biological mother. It was only 3 months, so they couldn't leave any loopholes. Assistant Lee only exclaimed to his wife that she adapted so quickly, but life doesn't always go according to plan. Chairman Ga and Yongran both didn't expect that the incident would happen that day. When Yan had just returned home, her phone suddenly rang. The screen displayed Chairman Ga's phone number. A groan came from the other end of the line. Yongran immediately realized that something was wrong. She hurriedly ran into Chairman Ga's private room. She only saw that he was in so much pain that he couldn't speak. After taking the chairman to the hospital, she knew that he was in the final stages of cancer. He could only rely on painkillers to survive. The doctor diagnosed that Chairman Ga would not be able to live for more than 3 months because the disease was progressing too quickly. However, these words were overheard by a nurse. She was Sunyong's subordinate. This news was immediately passed to Sunyong. For her, this was indeed good news. She and her younger brother had never understood that without Chairman Ga, Gasung Group would have been eliminated by the market long ago. Chairman Ga also had new plans. He wanted to go home and wanted Yongran to help him end his life that night. The pain from the terminal cancer was unbearable for him. When he got home, he called Yongran. He said that before he left, he wanted to eat a bowl of instant noodles, because this instant noodle group was built by him. Before he left this life, he wanted to taste the familiar taste of instant noodles again. In a minute, the bowl of noodles would be cooked. Chairman Ga opened the video on his phone. Then he looked at the photo of his biological daughter. Then he took out a pistol. It seemed like he wanted to end his own life. He did not want to force Yongran to do something she did not want. Yongran had only known this old man for a few days. However, she had already developed sympathy for Chairman Ga. Although his assets amounted to hundreds of billions, all of his relatives were traitors. Even his biological daughter was killed because of inheritance issues. Therefore, before he passed away, he still had to complete his revenge. Even if he had to give all of his assets worth hundreds of billions to a stranger, because his enemies valued money the most, he deliberately deprived them of their inheritance rights. The news of Chairman Ga's death reached his wife's 2 children. The two were so happy that they couldn't help but smile. However, their joy didn't last long when Assistant Lee came to visit. Assistant Lee said that there was a small change in the will. Sunyong and her brother immediately became worried. Chairman Ga's funeral was still going on as planned. Countless media outlets had come. Sunyong and Sonwoo's expressions were cold and scary, because Yongran was sitting there in the funeral home dressed as a wife. Sonwoo remembered that Yongra was Chairman Ga's personal bodyguard. Assistant Lee said that from now on, they shouldn't call Yongra so casually. Seeing Sunyong's confusion, Assistant Lee said that Yongran had been married to Chairman Ga for a month. After confirming the news, Sonwoo immediately couldn't control his emotions, especially when Sonwoo saw Yongran wearing his deceased mother's ring on her hand. Sonwoo lost control and rushed forward. Sunyong understood President Ga's plan. After loudly yelling at her younger brother, Sunyong stepped forward to question Yongran. However, Yongran did not hold back. Yongra declared that from now on, the other party was not allowed to call her so rudely. No matter how angry Sunyong and her younger brother were, they did not dare to do anything. Everyone around was watching them. Finally, Yongran returned to the old house. But this time, Yongra sat in the back seat. Driver Yang respectfully opened the car door for Yongra. Butler Choi also obediently followed Yongra's orders. Yongran was really grateful to President Ga. Regardless of his original intention, at least he gave her wealth and status. He even pulled her out of a bad family. However, Sunyong and her brother did not easily give up their family fortune. They invited their team of lawyers to discuss how to get their fortune back. The lawyers brought up precedent cases. cases. One was the case of a conglomerate chairman who died shortly after marrying a young wife. The final inheritance belonged to the wife. This was not the first time this had happened in Korea. The precedents clearly proved that Young-ran would definitely win the case. Sunyong said that the assets originally belonged to her mother. However, the lawyer said that based on the exchange rate, the current assets were worth much more than her mother's original assets. This made Sunyong and her brother speechless with anger, so they decided to harm Young-ran in another way. Sunyong then called the butler Choi. Sunyong implied that Young-ran would not be allowed to appear in this world tomorrow. The butler Choi took this opportunity to ask for a high price. Sunyong immediately agreed to pay her 100 million won. However, butler Choi could not carry out this plan alone, so she immediately persuaded driver Yang to join her, but their secretive behavior was seen by the maid Hiji. Hiji secretly liked driver Yang, so she suspected that butler Choi was seducing him. Young-ran once advised Hiji not to just think about love because driver Yang only liked rich girls. Finally, driver Yang agreed to butler Choi's plan. The next morning, butler Choi prepared a cup of poisoned coffee. Driver Yang took a golf club. However, Young-ran was a bodyguard who knew taekwondo, so a golf club was useless. A while later, Young-ran was called down to drink coffee, but Young-ran was on guard. Young-ran asked what the other person had put in her coffee. After that, Young-ran was seen knocking down the greedy driver. After that, Young-ran quickly left the house. Today was the day of Chairman Ga's funeral. Young-ran did not appear because most of the people at the scene were Sunyong's subordinates. But not long after, Sunyong found out Young-ran's whereabouts. At this time, Young-ran was on her way to Incheon Airport. Sunyong immediately ordered a manhunt. But Sunyong did not know that Chairman Ga had already predicted this, so he had prepared a safe haven for Young-ran in a small, remote town. As soon as there was any information, the whole town would know. Everyone there was very familiar with each other, so that was the most suitable place for Young-ran to avoid being hunted. By the way, Young-ran had set a trap for Sunyong and her younger brother, Sunyong. After arriving at the airport, Young-ran left her sports car. Sunyong's subordinates chased after her, but in the end, they were still one step too late. Young-ran quickly changed her clothes and went to a safe place. Not long after, Young-ran switched to taking a long-distance bus. Because that small town had no airport or train station, Manager Lee had also prepared a new identity for Young-ran. Manager Lee's cousin opened a kindergarten there. From today, Young-ran changed her name to Semi, and she would be the new kindergarten teacher there. However, Manager Lee warned Young-ran that after arriving in the town, she had to keep a low profile. Young-ran couldn't just date men because she was lonely, because most women's lives were ruined by men. Young-ran only said that there was no love in her life. 4 hours later, Young-ran arrived at the town bus station. Manager Lee's cousin had sent a text message saying that her cousin would come pick up Young-ran. When she saw her cousin, Young-ran was surprised. Young-ran recognized him as the one who owed the strawberry shop owner money. The first time they met, Young-ran even helped him avoid being caught in a car door. The second time, she witnessed him meeting Chairman Ga the day before he died. Dongmin approached her and asked if she was teacher Se-mi. She immediately confirmed that she was Se-mi. On the other side, Sunyong was frantically investigating Chairman Ga and Young-ran. Sunyong vowed to take back the 4 trillion dong fortune. Sunyong's lawyer came up with a plan. Although Chairman Ga's medical records did not record amnesia, they could bribe the servants in the villa. All they had to do was say that Chairman Ga had married Young-ran while she was amnesiac. Furthermore, the lawyer investigated and found out that Young-ran had a criminal record. When she was young, Young-ran had stolen something worth 51 in a reformatory. Sunyong was immediately excited. A scenario was presented. A young woman with a bad background and a chairman of a large corporation with assets of up to 4 trillion won spent a month of marriage. However, the husband seemed to have predicted his own death, so he left a large fortune to his newlywed wife. Due to old age and dementia, the chairman was manipulated by his female bodyguard to marry and leave all his assets to her. When this story was made public, public opinion would lean towards them, but all of Sunyong's calculations were predicted by Manager Lee. Manager Lee fired the housekeeper Choi and driver Yan yesterday. In the entire mansion, only the innocent girl Hiji remained. Manager Lee sat in the secret surveillance room. Manager Lee muttered to himself that Muchan must be very peaceful. Unfortunately, in reality, Muching was not peaceful at all. Young-ran's identity, under the fake name Semi, was still exposed. It all started when Young-ran went to work at the kindergarten. Principal Mi-sun was very touched when she saw the resume her cousin sent. The resume showed that Young-ran graduated from a prestigious university, and she had also taught for many years at a kindergarten in Seoul. It was difficult to understand why someone with such a high level of education would come to this remote town to teach, so Mi-sun decided to secretly investigate Young-ran's background. First, Mi-sun checked Sami's university information. Of course, the information did not match. Sami's age recorded in the university system was much older. Sami was born in 1972. She is 53 years old this year and has 3 children. The eldest of them just entered university. Mi-sun felt disappointed when she knew this truth, but this was the resume sent by her cousin, so she didn't want the university to investigate further. She then contacted the kindergarten head where Sami used to teach. The response from the other party finally made her feel at ease. At this moment, Young-ran knocked on the door and entered, just saying hello, but Mi-sun was exposed. Of course, everything was actually arranged by Bulnae. Only Mi-sun didn't understand what was going on. When she saw Young-ran approaching with a cold face, Mi-sun immediately wanted to call the police. However, the phone in her hand was snatched by Young-ran. Mi-sun was both scared and angry, questioning Young-ran's purpose in going to the kindergarten. She also thought that Young-ran had taken advantage of her cousin. At this moment, Manager Lee called and he revealed the truth to his cousin. Only then did Mi-sun know that the woman in front of her was the wife of the late chairman of Gasung Group, and now she was the owner of 4 trillion assets. Manager Lee said that he would go to the kindergarten to solve the problem. In fact, Young-ran discovered that the kindergarten was facing the risk of closing. The reason was that the school's land lease contract had expired, and the landowner wanted to sell the land to a group that provided nursing home services. Young-ran said that she could help Mi-sun, but Young-ran needed more time to get the money. So Young-ran hoped that Mi-sun would support her to work as a teacher here for 3 months. Then, Young-ran would buy the kindergarten and give it to Mi-sun. After hearing this, Mi-sun felt extremely happy. She immediately promised to help Young-ran hide her identity. However, just at this moment, Dong-min had just arrived and heard his cousin calling Young-ran, "Madam." Seeing this, Mi-sun immediately pretended to answer the phone and signaled Dong-min to keep quiet. Mi-sun said that the other end of the line was the madam from the church. Afraid that Dong-min was still suspicious, Mi-sun quickly said that the school bus was coming and urged Dong-min to go out and pick up the students. After sending Dong-min off, the two continued to discuss the unfinished story. Young-ran told Mi-sun that from now on, she had to call herself Teacher Sami. As long as the other party helped her hide her identity here for 3 months, she would take out 300 million in cash to help the other party buy the kindergarten. At that time, Mi-sun would be the real owner of the school. However, Mi-sun was worried that the verbal contract would not be guaranteed, so she wanted to make a written document. Young-ran said that this matter would be handed over to Manager Lee to handle. Only then could Mi-sun feel secure. Young-ran also reiterated that she hoped that no one in Muchang village would know her true identity except Mi-sun. If anyone knew her personal information, she would be sure that Mi-sun had revealed it. At the same time, everything she had promised Mi-sun before would be cancelled. Mi-sun immediately showed that she would definitely keep it a secret. But there was one thing she was very curious about, which was Young-ran's real education. Young-ran calmly admitted that she only had a high school diploma. She even took the initiative to mention her past when she had to go to a reform school for stealing sanitary napkins. Her mother had also committed crimes 3 times. Hearing this, Mi-sun was immediately shocked and speechless. At the same time, Young-ran used her own money to hire someone to install surveillance cameras in the area where she lived. Young-ran did all of this so that she could grasp all the developments if any suspicious people appeared. On the other side, Sunyong went to the police station to report her stepmother's sudden disappearance. The lazy police officer only asked a few questions and said that this matter was difficult to handle. Then he suddenly received a phone call from his superior. His attitude immediately changed. He said that he would register Young-ran as a person of interest. The police would then conduct a thorough nationwide search. On her first day as a kindergarten teacher, Young-ran was at a loss for what to do. So she brought an inflatable dinosaur to teach the students self-defense skills. She told the students that if they were in danger, they should immediately scream for help. After screaming for help, they should use surrounding objects to attract the other person's attention. Then Young-ran threw the inflatable dinosaur down. Unexpectedly, the dinosaur deflated. In the next second, the classroom was filled with the sound of students crying. Some students even tried to save the dinosaur with first aid measures such as CPR. The crying quickly attracted the attention of gym teacher Dong-min and principal Mi-sun. Dong-min then called Young-ran out to talk privately. He immediately asked her what he had always wondered. That was why she had studied at such a good university but came to a remote place like Muchang. Young-ran said that Dong-min had crossed the line. Dong-min also did not want to waste any more time. He said that he was the school's physical education teacher. He was also Ju-won's father, so he hoped that Young-ran would not do anything to hurt the students. He would always keep an eye on her. When she returned to class, Young-ran picked up the deflated dinosaur on the ground and fixed it. Then Young Ran wrote an apology to the dinosaur. As soon as Young Ran went out, she met a parent. The woman said that it had been a long time since the village had a kindergarten teacher, so the villagers were all thinking of ways to please Young Ran. So this time, they decided to send a representative to find out what Young Ran liked to eat. However, Young Ran saw through their true intentions. She frankly said that they could express their opposition to her at dinner tonight. At the same time, Hiji was left alone in the Seoul mansion. After Manager Lee left, Hiji sneaked into Chairman Ga's study and discovered a secret room inside. On the table were complete documents related to the will and Young Ran's name change. At this time, through the surveillance screen, Hiji realized that butler Choi and driver Yang had returned. Hiji opened the door. The two of them wanted to go in but were stopped by Hiji. Hiji said that they no longer had any business here. Butler Choi immediately pulled Hiji to his side. They wanted Hiji to secretly monitor Young Ran's residence. After succeeding, Sunyong would pay them a handsome reward. Hiji said that she needed to observe Manager Lee more, but Hiji of course would not share such valuable information with the other two. On this side, after Young Ran returned home, she discovered that Dongmin's son had followed her. Ju-won found the self-defense skills that the teacher had taught very useful, so Ju-won wanted to invite the teacher to dinner with his family. While eating, Dongmin's phone suddenly received a text message. Ju-won saw it and read it out loud. It turned out that Dongmin and the villagers were secretly investigating the new kindergarten teacher. Dongmin immediately covered his son's mouth. He awkwardly explained to Young Ran that it was not like that. Although Young Ran said she did not care, when she returned home, she immediately called Manager Lee to report this. Manager Lee also said that Sunyong had influenced the police to report Young Ran as a person of interest. If Young Ran wanted to stay in Mucheon for the next 3 months, the only way was to get along with the villagers. Young Ran needed to clear their suspicions. The next day, on her way to work, Young Ran took the initiative to get in her parents' car. Young Ran announced that she wanted to hold a party and invite everyone in the village to attend. The woman announced this to everyone through the village's loudspeaker. At the same time, Manager Lee returned to the mansion and found that Hiji was not there. Furthermore, Manager Lee found Hiji's shoes thrown in the hallway. It seemed like something had happened there. Manager Lee called Hiji, but her phone was turned off. Then he went to Hiji's room in the annex. The clothes in the closet were in disarray. Young Ran was busy preparing for the party. While she was putting on makeup in the bathroom, Dongmin brought a barrel of rice wine. Young Ran suddenly remembered that her laptop was still in surveillance mode, and that was a secret that she absolutely could not let others discover. She hurriedly ran out and hugged Dongmin's shoulder tightly. He was startled and opened his eyes wide to look at her. Dongmin was not a casual person, but facing this beautiful woman made his heart waver a little. At this moment, Young Ran quietly closed the computer behind him. However, that intimate scene was just seen by Hiji. Not knowing when Hiji had come here, Hiji did not expose Young Ran immediately. Hiji only greeted Young Ran as a good friend. Young Ran was afraid of being exposed, so she immediately chased Dongmin away. But Hiji approached Dongmin. Seeing that, Young Ran was extremely worried. Luckily, Hiji did not expose Young Ran, but she just told Dongmin that she had forgotten something very important. Young Ran and Dongmin turned around and discovered that it was Dongmin's phone. Young Ran quickly took the phone and gave it to Dongmin. Then she pushed the other person out the door. Then Young Ran quickly closed the door and pulled the curtains. Young Ran asked Hiji why she came here to find her. Did Sunyong send Hiji? Hiji did not answer immediately. She only said that there were no secrets in this world. Before Young Ran could react, Hiji said that she was just joking. However, Hiji said that many people wanted to know Young Ran's whereabouts. At this time, Young Ran seriously asked Hiji what she wanted. Hiji replied that the reward would be left for the giver to think about. Then, Hiji left with the excuse that she wanted to have dinner with the villagers. Young Ran stopped Hiji. Young Ran asked the other person how much money he wanted to keep quiet. Seeing that Young Ran was impatient, Hiji said that as long as Young Ran ate dinner, drank coffee, and watched a movie with her, that was enough. As for money, it was up to Young Ran. Then Hiji extended her hand, expressing her desire to make friends. Young Ran was still unsure of Hiji's true intentions. However, Young Ran had to temporarily compromise with Hiji. The two of them walked into the yard one by one. The villagers warmly welcomed Young Ran. They had thoughtfully prepared a playground for their children. Ju-won also gave the teacher a gift. At this time, Manager Lee returned to Chairman Ga's secret room, and he immediately discovered a chaotic scene. Then he quickly checked the surveillance camera. Only then did he realize that Hiji knew everything. He immediately felt extremely worried. The villagers were also discussing whether to investigate Young Ran further. Policeman Jong-woo used the excuse that his younger sister was also studying at the Women's University's Business Administration Department to interrogate Young Ran. Whenever Young Ran couldn't answer, Hiji Hiji would interrupt to help Young Ran solve the problem. Young Ran told everyone to continue eating, but Jongwoo still wanted to ask something more. At this point, Principal Mi-sun interrupted. Mi-sun happily expressed that there would be more students in the school starting next week. Then Mi-sun pulled Young Ran up to say a few words. Young Ran first expressed her gratitude for everyone's warm welcome. She affirmed that she would do what she said. She would not be like the other teachers who left for money. Everyone applauded and supported her. Young Ran returned to her seat. However, Jongwoo was still stubborn and wanted to ask more. Hiji was prepared. She told everyone that she studied ballet in college. She even took out her dancing shoes to prove it. She asked Taemin to help turn on the music and record it. Then she performed a ballet for everyone to see. Her performance was quite professional. While everyone was attentively watching the dance, Young Ran suddenly received a call from Manager Lee. So she went to a place with few people to listen. Manager Lee said that he would confirm whether Sunyong knew her whereabouts or not. Young Ran said that the people of Muchang seemed to believe her, and she could start implementing the plan. Before Manager Lee could reply, she hung up. He exclaimed that now she not only looked like the madam, but almost became a copy of the late chairman. Young Ran started implementing her plan. She had to make Dongmin believe in her, so she went straight to Dongmin to remind him of what had just happened at home. Dongmin seemed to misunderstand that it was about her almost kissing him, so he looked a little embarrassed. Before Young Ran could say anything, a drunken Sung Tae interrupted her. Sung Tae blamed everyone for not calling him to every party. Then he grabbed the microphone despite everyone's objections. It looked like he was going to sing a love song to supermarket owner Jung Hwa. But before he could say anything, the speaker was pulled out. He angrily demanded that everyone plug the power cord back in. He insisted that he had something to do tonight. Sung Tae was furious. He criticized everyone here, saying that they all depended on him, and yet they looked down on him. Young Ran went straight to exposing Sung Tae. The Commercial Property Tenancy Protection Act had been amended to stipulate that the lease term must be 10 years. During these 10 years, the landlord could only increase the rent by a maximum of 5% each year. The villagers began to speak up, saying that they had only been in their 4th year of renting. Young Ran continued to say that Sung Tae was despicable for taking advantage of the villagers like that. Sung Tae denied this. Young Ran continued to present evidence. It turned out that Sung Tae had used money to ask Young Ran to leave the kindergarten before, but she refused. Sung Tae was once again the target of criticism. He was immediately taken away by a group of young men. Son Woo went to the factory where Young Ran's mother worked. Although Young Ran's mother had changed her name from So Young to Hee Ra, she was still denounced by a coworker. When no one was paying attention, she quickly ran away with her best friend. However, they were still caught by the guards outside the door. Young Ran's mother was not only beaten until her head bled, but also taken away. Son Woo used a drill to threaten the two. He forced Young Ran's mother to reveal her daughter's whereabouts, but she didn't know anything. Her coming to work at this factory was only arranged by Secretary Lee. She didn't even know that Young Ran was married to Chairman Ga. After knowing the truth, she still casually befriended Son Woo. In the end, she told him that she had cut off all ties with her daughter, but she had a way to find her daughter's whereabouts. She wanted to use her daughter in exchange for money. In fact, Son Woo didn't like this insolent woman. However, because he wanted to find Young Ran, he had no choice but to endure. The party here ended completely. The villagers were very happy with Young Ran's appearance. Dongmin's opinion of Young Ran had also changed somewhat. Meanwhile, Taemin liked Hiji at first sight. When he saw Hiji was about to start drinking, Young Ran quickly stopped her. Even so, Hiji was still drunk, so she accidentally called Young Ran's real name. Luckily, no one noticed. The two of them returned to the bedroom together. Young Ran told Hiji that Dong Min was the most dangerous person in Muchang village and told Hiji to be careful. Before Young Ran could finish, Hiji started snoring. Young Ran woke up early and went straight to Dong Min's car. Young Ran went to the greenhouse with the other party to pick strawberries. She wanted to clear up the matter that was left unfinished yesterday. Dong Min said that he was not interested in her. Young Ran was not angry. On the contrary, she seemed very interested in the other party. Dong Min thought that she did that to clear his doubts about her. Young Ran explained that she acted that way because he was blocking her way. Young Ran felt that Dong Min was very naive. Dong Min felt embarrassed. However, the misunderstanding between the two was finally resolved. Hiji felt very bored at home. She accidentally discovered Young Ran's strategy map. She even accidentally discovered a red suitcase. Based on the password to Manager Lee's phone that she had seen, she opened the suitcase. Surprisingly, there were 520 million won inside. The stacks of money were neatly arranged. The smell of the paper money was also very fragrant. On this side, Young Ran still did not know that her secret had been exposed. She was busy picking strawberries with Dong Min, but a bodyguard's hand ruined the strawberries. Dong Min said that the strawberries cost cost 10,000 won. Unexpectedly, Yongran actually gave him money as compensation. After knowing that Dongmin was just joking, she started to talk more intimately with him. She asked him if it was hard to take care of Juwon alone. Dongmin just said that he wanted to be a greenhouse to protect his son from the wind and rain. Such a father made Yongran feel admiration. Dongmin suddenly apologized to Yongran because he felt that he had misunderstood her too much. Yongran's expression remained unchanged. She said that 3 million won could not change her life. Dongmin kept his word. He thought she was a kind person. In the end, Yongran picked 2 baskets full of strawberries. Yongran still wanted to use the money to compensate for the rotten strawberries. The amount was 500,000 won. Dongmin just told her to keep it for herself. He even thoughtfully held the basket of strawberries for her. The moment she reached out, he noticed the scar on her wrist. He immediately thought of the person he saw in Seoul, but he didn't expose her right away. It wasn't until they got in the car that he asked about the scar on her wrist. Yongran explained that it wasn't a scar. Dongmin lifted his shirt to show her his scar to comfort her. Yongran shyly told him to pull it down because she saw his abs. Sunyong already knew that her brother found Yongran's mother. Sunwoo said that he would find Yongran soon too. Sunyong then took out a video to show him. It was a video of the employee giving birth to his child. Sunyong angrily hit her brother for doing such a stupid thing. Sunwoo knew he was wrong, so he asked the secretary to delete the recording immediately. However, the older sister continued to pinch his younger brother's ear to warn him. After that, Sunwoo was forced to publicly apologize. Finally, the older sister took her younger brother to Manager Lee. At this time, the police had already found Manager Lee and were preparing to urgently arrest him. While the two sides were confronting each other, Sunyong and Sunwoo ran up to threaten Manager Lee. They demanded that Manager Lee reveal Yongran's whereabouts. At this time, Manager Lee exercised his right to remain silent and left with the police. Butler Choi and driver Yang secretly followed. They were arranged by Sunwoo to go to Manager Lee's whereabouts. They were tasked with finding the will left by Chairman Ga. The two entered the villa happily. Butler Choi was also surprised to discover soju in the glass of water. Manager Lee took advantage of the police's inattention to send a text message to Yongran. When Yongran received the message, she immediately ran home. She found what she needed and went out. Hiji also had nothing to do, so she asked Dongmin to go with her to town. But the other party refused Hiji because he had to cook. Taemin volunteered to go with Hiji. He even borrowed Dongmin's car. Because she waited for a long time without seeing a car, Yongran borrowed a motorbike from a villager. Hiji saw Yongran riding a motorbike and immediately chased after her. Yongran went to the internet cafe and sent a message to her reporter friend Song-hee. Yongran told her that something big was about to happen to the Gasung group. Of course, the message was related to Sunwoo's matter. Yongran sent the message from Manager Lee's account. At this time, Hiji suddenly appeared and asked Yongran what she was doing here. Hiji discovered something but did not expose Yongran. Sung-hee quickly received the news. The message stated that Vice President Sunwoo intended to sell the recording. She recorded the recording. She then immediately went to the police station to meet Manager Lee. She wanted to confirm the authenticity of the accusation. Sung-hee immediately posted the exclusive news. At this time, Hiji left Taemin and got in the car with Yongran. Hiji wanted to know the relationship between Yongran and Manager Lee. Yongran said that the two were just simply cooperating and had no feelings. Hiji only said that she bought a gift. On this side, Yongran's mother and her group of thugs were treated to a very expensive meal by Sunwoo. At this time, Sunwoo still did not know anything about the exclusive news until his friends showed it to him. He immediately appeared extremely panicked because in the recording he criticized his sister's management style. On this side, Sunyong also saw the related news, but her expression was calm. Yongran remembered the promise she made to the president about buying the company. The original plan was to separate Sunyong and her brother. Dongmin cooked instant noodles for everyone. The atmosphere of the meal was very cheerful. Everyone even prepared some alcohol to celebrate. Dongmin happened to notice Yongran tying her hair. He discovered that the way she tied her hair was similar to the hair of the woman he met in Seoul. After Yongran left, he decided to follow her out. Dongmin called out Yongran's real name. When she turned around, he asked her directly if she was Yongran. Yongran looked straight at the other person, but did not say anything for a long time. She did not know how to answer. Yongran originally wanted to deny it, but she was not good at lying. She could not pretend anymore, so she could only admit the truth. She thought that the other person wanted to take advantage of her weakness to achieve something. Dongmin really felt helpless. He angrily expressed that he didn't want anything to do with it. Yongran insisted that he give specific requests. Dongmin was annoyed that she always used money to solve everything. Yongran started talking about her past experiences. Everyone felt sorry for her family situation. situation. She had been in a juvenile detention center. Everyone sympathized with the hardships she had gone through, but the sadness in her heart did not lessen just by sharing it with others. In the end, it became her weakness. Her parents were incompetent. Since she was young, no one stood up to protect her, which just happened to be the most suitable pawn to be exploited. On the contrary, she became a tool for adults to take advantage of. However, in order to survive, she always tried her best. But as soon as people were missing something, they would immediately suspect that it was her who stole it. She didn't believe that Dong Min was different from others. When he asked her for money, she would feel more secure. Dong Min only promised that he wouldn't say anything. He didn't need money. All he needed was for her to leave. But now Youngran had no way back. When Youngran got home, she was still not at ease, so she immediately called Manager Lee. She asked Manager Lee about Dong Min's weakness. Manager Lee thought that Dong Min's weakness was probably Ju-won's son. Dong Min was also looking into information related to Youngran, but he had no intention of revealing it to everyone. Even when his best friend Tae-min walked in, Dong Min immediately turned off the computer. At this time, Hiji had come home and interrupted Youngran's train of thought. This was the first time Youngran had given up her bed to Hiji. Seeing this, Hiji was very touched. Then Hiji took out a pair of pajamas to wear with Youngran. Only after Youngran agreed to wear it together did Hiji feel secure and go to bed. Youngran continued to search for news about Gasan Group online. It was written that Vice President Son Woo manipulated online stock prices. It turned out that all of this was prearranged by Youngran and Manager Lee. They had sent their own people to Son Woo's side. This person was tasked with taking advantage of Son Woo's greed to incite him to carry out plans to deceive the people. From then on, the board members suspected Son Woo and his sister. Of course, they would act for their own personal gain. At that time, Sunyong would not forgive her younger brother because she could not believe that someone would dare to deceive her. In short, everything would develop in a direction that was beneficial to Youngran and Manager Lee. At this time, Hiji suddenly begged Youngran not to run away because Hiji's mother and father, along with her ex-boyfriend, had all left while she was sleeping. Even if Youngran wanted to run away, Hiji hoped that Youngran would tell her. When Youngran agreed, Hiji even begged to make a deal. While half asleep, Hiji said that Dong Min was a good man. Hiji even offered to stay here with Youngran to grow strawberries. So Youngran remembered that Dong Min said that she was a good person. Strawberries are very sensitive to temperature and humidity, but the greenhouse here stood firmly to protect it from wind and rain. On the other side, Son Woo was afraid that his sister would scold him, so he prepared to escape abroad. But he was stopped by his sister's bodyguard. He tried to resist, but to no avail. In the end, he was taken by the bodyguard to the car and detained at the resort. Early the next morning, Youngran went to find Dong Min. She wanted to confirm whether he had revealed his true identity to others. Facing Youngran's disbelief, Dong Min felt very upset, so he got in the car and left. However, Youngran did not give up. She went straight to the strawberry greenhouse to find him. Dong Min emphasized that he would not reveal her story, so Youngran suddenly stuffed a large strawberry into his mouth. Tae-min was also there. Tae-min praised Youngran for picking strawberries very well. Tae-min even gave her a thumbs up and praised her as a genius. Dong Min couldn't help but look at Youngran and smile happily. At the same time, the board members of Gasum Group were discussing whether Sunyong and Son Woo should run the company together. Unexpectedly, all of this was clearly seen by Sunyong through the surveillance camera. She asked the secretary to inform the board members that there would be a press conference this afternoon. She then went to find reporter Song-hee at the tennis court. However, Sunyong did not come to threaten or take revenge. Sunyong held up a USB containing Gasan Group's board of directors documents. Song-hee only needed to look at it to know all the internal affairs of the board members. Song-hee did not want to help Sunyong report the news, but Sunyong mentioned the issue of media objectivity and the mission of journalists. This convinced the female reporter. Sunyong was sure that Song-hee would agree to report after seeing the documents. Meanwhile, Son Woo was being held and felt extremely bad. He decided to call the thugs to take him out. He also asked them to bring Youngran's mother. He also promised to pay them 100 million won. The thugs immediately took action. Youngran did not know about this. She and Hiji were having dinner at Dong Min's house. At that moment, Jo-won came out and said he wanted to eat canned meat. Dong Min refused because he thought this dish was not good for his health. Youngran wanted to grasp Dong Min's weakness, so she followed Jo-won's wishes. She said that she also wanted to eat canned meat. And indeed, Jo-won's sympathy for the teacher increased immediately. During the meal, Hiji expressed her desire to go to Dong Min's strawberry greenhouse to help, but unexpectedly, he directly refused her. Youngran suggested that Hiji go to the kindergarten to teach ballet, but Principal Mi-sun refused. Youngran then told Mi-sun that she would pay Hiji because Hiji knew her true true identity. She wanted Hiji to stay in her sight for peace of mind. Just like that, Hiji became a member of the kindergarten. Young Ran was always afraid that Dong Min would not keep the secret, so she always followed him. Even when she went to work, she had to ride with him. Although Dong Min was a little inconvenienced, he was also very thoughtful. He was worried that she would be sad because Gossen Group's stock price was falling. Unexpectedly, Young Ran told him seriously that this was her first time experiencing such a thing, so she still had no feelings. Moreover, when she was in school, her math score was not very good. Dong Min couldn't help but laugh out loud. Seeing this, Young Ran asked him how his math score was. Actually, Dong Min's math score was not very good either. At school, Young Ran was constantly pampered by Juwon. At this time, Hiji and Mi Sun were arguing with each other about their relationship with Young Ran. Everyone thought that they had a more special relationship with the madam. Suddenly, they heard the students' cheerful laughter. Then they immediately ran downstairs to see what was going on. It turned out that Young Ran was dressed up as a princess by the students. This scene was just seen by Dong Min, who was passing by. He couldn't help but smile happily. At this moment, a worker suddenly shouted loudly from outside. Everyone rushed out to the yard to check. It turned out that Sung Tae was causing trouble again. Mi Sun wanted to run over to deal with him, but she was almost injured by the excavator. Fortunately, Young Ran was quick to save Mi Sun. However, Young Ran's clothes were torn. Dong Min quickly helped the two up. He then personally cut the steel wire. But Dong Min was stopped by Sung Tae and called the police. Sung Tae accused someone of trespassing on private land. Furthermore, Sung Tae also asked someone to take a video as evidence. As a result, Young Ran and Dong Min were taken to the police station. Mi Sun immediately called Manager Lee. At this time, Manager Lee was watching Butler Choi's performance. Manager Lee was worried that Young Ran's identity might be investigated, so he drove there himself. Unexpectedly, Son Woo and his subordinates were following behind. At the same time, Sunyong discovered Young Ran's mother. Sunyong ordered the servants to guard her mother. Then Sunyong went to the press conference alone. At the press conference, Sunyong announced that Seon Woo would not be coming. The reason was because he was in the hospital because he had previously ended his life. Her younger brother had a mental illness after experiencing the deaths of his parents. He was also attacked by the media. Sunyong also apologized on behalf of her younger brother. She expressed that she would get the Gassen Group back on track. Then she hurriedly ended the press conference. Song-hee seemed to have noticed the change in Sunyong's expression, but Song-hee was not sure about it. In the end, Song-hee decided to look into the situation further. On this side, Young Ran and Dong Min were also very confused. They needed to find a lawyer to leave the police station. The police officer said that the prosecutor had personally called. Sung Tae must have put pressure on the police. Perhaps he did so because he wanted to get the building permit quickly. Seon Woo and his subordinates were also following Manager Lee closely. But suddenly, a white car blocked Seon Woo's path. Thanks to that, Manager Lee was able to escape being followed. Before Manager Lee arrived at the police station, Sung Tae brought the lawyer there first and kept threatening them. Seeing that the situation was not good, Mi Sun called Manager Lee. Manager Lee asked Mi Sun to find a way to stall for time because he would be there in 5 minutes. They couldn't let the police see Young Ran's ID. Mi Sun couldn't think of a way to delay, but Hiji responded promptly. Just as Young Ran was about to hand over her ID, Hiji rushed into the police station, shouting that a madman was chasing her. The police officer immediately told Hiji to sit down first and calm down. Hiji put on a panicked expression. She said that she didn't remember anything. Thanks to that, Manager Lee, who was also a lawyer, arrived in time. Hiji took advantage of the police's inattention and quietly left. Manager Lee took the initiative with just a few words. Manager Lee also demanded that Sung Tae compensate for Young Ran's damaged clothes and mental damage. The mental damage to the kindergarten students must also be paid in full. Manager Lee then boldly took Dong Min and Young Ran away. Manager Lee took them to the hospital to get the diagnosis certificate. Manager Lee saw that Young Ran did not get in his car but got in Dong Min's car. Manager Lee knew that Dong Min had already taken advantage of her weakness. At this time, Son Woo and the others had already arrived at Muchang. Young Ran was going to buy canned meat for lunch. She and Dong Min temporarily separated. Just as Young Ran entered the supermarket, Son Woo's group entered. Seeing this, she quickly hid. Then, while they were talking to Jung Hwa, Young Ran quickly ran out. At this time, Jung Hwa inside called the police. At that moment, Dong Min arrived. Young Ran immediately jumped into the car. The two quickly left. Seon Woo and the others chased closely behind. Dong Min's driving skills were really good. He did not let the other car pass him along the way. However, despite his excellent driving skills, Dong Min had a hard time escaping the crowd. In the end, he was still stopped by the other car. Dong Min did not run away alone. On the contrary, he was willing to fight with the thugs to protect Young Ran. However, Young Ran had never liked to hide in the back. She held a red umbrella and got out of the car. Dongmin also got out of the car and stood next to her. Because he was a physical education teacher, Dongmin was very physically fit. He had beaten up anyone who dared to attack Yongran. Seeing that scene, Sonwoo could only spend more money to persuade the leader to take action. The leader held a dagger and aimed at Yongran. Dongmin discovered it in time and stood in front of her. During the struggle, Dongmin was injured in the hand. The leader still wanted to rush forward. At this moment, the police arrived. To avoid unnecessary trouble, the two sides got into the car and left. Yongran looked at Dongmin's injured hand. She kept blaming herself. At the same time, she never thought that someone would be injured because of her, so she decided to leave Muchang. Dongmin didn't say a word and directly changed the direction of the car. Sonwoo also became worried because the car kept going off course. When he was about to take the medicine, he accidentally dropped the pill. In the end, Sonwoo lost focus and crashed his car into the side of the road. Dongmin took Yongran to the beach. He thought that this place would help her feel lighter and temporarily forget all her worries. He advised her to continue using Sami's identity to stay here. Seeing that she was not moved, Dongmin said that he would protect her. He advised her not to let sadness become a weakness. No matter what happened, he would not change. Yongran did not understand why Dongmin protected her. She also did not know whether she should trust him or not. Dongmin joked that they really had to sign a contract for her to trust him. Yongran did not answer. Dongmin said that she had agreed. Then, he happily went to the beach to throw rocks and create waves. He also invited Yongran to come play with him. At this moment, Yongran felt very touched. On this side, Sunyong went to Yongran's mother. Then Sunyong called manager Lee. Sunyong said that if Yongran didn't show up, she would get rid of Yongran's mother. There's a high chance that Sunyong will do it because she's so cruel that she won't even spare her own brother. Manager Lee remained calm. He directly said that this matter had nothing to do with him. At the same time, he didn't inform Yongran about this. So Yongran's mother was constantly tortured. Now her body was full of injuries. To escape the torture, she even promised the other party that she would get rid of Yongran. Meanwhile, Sonwoo survived the collision, but he was sent to a mental hospital. This reminded him of the bad things that happened in his childhood, so he immediately panicked. On this side, Dongmin is doing what he promised. He cares for and helps Yongran in every way. Even though it was late at night, he still helped Yongran change the street lamppost near her house. Yongran was very touched by Dongmin's actions. The next day, Dongmin assigned Taemin to drive. Then, Dongmin used the excuse that he was a little overweight recently to jog with Yongran to the greenhouse. Dongmin thought that he had hidden his thoughts very well. Unexpectedly, even the slowest person realized that he had feelings for Yongran. Sure enough, the two met on the road. Dongmin told Yongran that jogging together would be much more fun than jogging alone. Yongran reminded him that Dongmin had already passed the greenhouse. Dongmin quickly explained with an unconvincing reason. Then, when Yongran returned alone, she coincidentally met Taemin. Taking this opportunity, Taemin asked her about the type of man that Hiji liked. Actually, Yongran didn't know much about it, so she just said something to get it over with. Suddenly, Taemin said that there were visitors, so Yongran needed to be careful. Then Taemin calmly drove away. On this side, Sonwoo was tormented by psychological trauma. Finally, someone came to visit him. The visitor unexpectedly turned out to be Manager Lee. Manager Lee reminded that the person who sent Sonwoo to the mental hospital was Sonwoo's sister. The reason was because he betrayed the company. Manager Lee offered to help Sonwoo get out of the mental hospital. At the same time, he also promised to support Sonwoo to become the president of Gasan Group. If the two cooperated, it would be beneficial for both sides. Sonwoo seemed to not believe the other party's words very much. However, Manager Lee just calmly took out the hospitalization certificate. On it was Sunyong's signature. Only then did Sonwoo believe Manager Lee's words. Sonwoo asked Manager Lee to contact the reporter and he would reveal his sister's dirty secret. However, Sonwoo also refused to give Manager Lee the information right now because he still did not completely trust the other party. Manager Lee remained extremely calm. He coldly said that as the late president's lawyer, his kindness could only stop here. At this time, Mi-sun's kindergarten was organizing a tour for parents to visit the classroom. The parents were all eager to meet the teacher from a prestigious university, so Mi-sun asked Yongran to teach the students, but Yongran refused. At this time, Hiji walked in. She immediately agreed to teach the students ballet. Hiji's friendliness and enthusiasm made both parents and students feel happy and satisfied. Yongran also enthusiastically told stories to the students. Through this, she taught the students not to open the door when a stranger knocked on the door. The lesson went very well. In this happy moment, two policemen led Yongran's mother to the classroom. Everyone was surprised to see her mother's appearance. However, it was clear that the person who was most surprised was Yongran. Facing her mother's hug, Yongran froze on the spot. Dongmin realized that the situation was not good, so he immediately led the students and parents to physical education. When there were only 2 people left in the classroom, Youngran's mother's attitude immediately changed. Youngran knew that she had bad intentions, so she decided to take her home. Youngran guessed that she was sent by Sunyong, but she did not admit it. She even showed the scars on her body to prove that she had been injured because of her daughter. She also said that she had maternal love, but in fact, she just wanted to get more money from her daughter. Youngran really felt helpless. After growing up, Youngran always paid back her mother's kindness, but this mother is getting more and more outrageous. She is not ashamed to say that all of Youngran's current success is thanks to her. She even speculated that Youngran had incited Chairman Ga to end her life. Then she calmly went to take a bath as if this was her own house. Youngran knew that she could not do anything to her mother for the time being, so Youngran had no choice but to install hidden cameras in the house. At this time, Hiji was secretly standing at the door. When she saw Youngran go out, she quickly hid and sent a message to a mysterious person. On this side, Sunyong wanted to become the chairman, so she told Secretary Han to go find Son Woo. Then Youngran went to Dongmin's house, but she did not meet him but only met his son. Jo-won realized that Youngran was sad, so he gave her the candy he liked the most. At the same time, Jo-won told the teacher not to suddenly disappear. At this time, Hiji had arrived home. She secretly took money from Youngran's suitcase. Unfortunately, Youngran's mother saw Hiji's actions. The two had an argument. Youngran's mother asked Hiji to return the money and leave, but Hiji insisted that the money was not hers. While the two were arguing, Youngran returned and saw the incident. Youngran told Hiji to take the money and leave. Youngran wanted to have a private conversation with her mother. Then Youngran took her mother's phone and entered her phone number. Her mother still wanted to know if her daughter had incited the chairman to end his life. Of course, Youngran would not tell the truth. At this time, Dongmin's voice rang out outside. Youngran's mother became curious again. Youngran told her mother not to go anywhere. While Youngran ran out to meet Dongmin, the mother was just thinking about how to earn more money. She took a picture of Youngran talking to Dongmin and sent it to Sunyong. Unexpectedly, all of her actions were recorded by a micro camera. Youngran saw it clearly through the video. Youngran wanted to find out what her mother was planning, so she used the excuse of wanting to buy a phone charger to invite her mother to the supermarket. Youngran also told her mother that if she was short of money, she could just take the money from the suitcase. At the same time, Youngran also wanted her mother to know about her identity in this village. The mother affirmed that she had a very good memory. After saying that, she took the money and went out. She complained as she walked because there were no taxis in this remote countryside. At the same time, she happened to see Dongmin's car and asked for a ride. However, she did not appreciate it, but on the contrary, she later started thinking of ways to take advantage of Dongmin when she knew that he rented the field to grow crops. She deliberately said that people without parents would have no good role models to learn from. Ju-won, who was sitting in the back, felt unhappy. The boy immediately retorted and picked on this old woman. Youngran's mother immediately became upset. Seeing the tense situation, Dongmin quickly apologized on behalf of her son. At this time, the 3 directors of the Gasan group were extremely angry because their evil deeds were exposed. When they saw Sunyong, they immediately showed unfriendly expressions. Despite seeing their anger, Sunyong still did not give in. On the contrary, Sunyong threatened them to give up their chairmanship to her. Sunyong said that even though she was younger than the 3 of them, she would not bow her head. The 3 directors found Sunyong's arrogant attitude very funny. Meanwhile, Sunyong did not panic at all. Sunyong only needed to signal, and the 3 beaten young people were brought over. The 3 directors were finally shocked because these 3 young men were their sons and daughters. This man immediately knelt on the ground and begged Sunyong to release his daughter. Sunyong exposed him for using public funds to buy erectile dysfunction drugs. Now, he had to use his daughter's body to pay off his debt. The director kept admitting his mistakes. The person next to him did the same. He begged Sunyong to forgive his son, and he promised to do everything. Finally, the 3 directors hurriedly bowed and put their hands on the oath of allegiance. At the same time, Secretary Han found the mental hospital where Seon-woo was staying. She immediately sent someone there. At this time, Seon-woo was so tormented that he couldn't bear it anymore. He took the initiative to ask to see Manager Lee. When he received a call from the doctor, Manager Lee immediately went to the mental hospital. However, Manager Lee still didn't completely trust Seon-woo. At this time, the doctor arrived and informed Manager Lee that someone had come to look for Seon-woo. Manager Lee said that he would temporarily trust Seon-woo. Manager Lee then immediately took Seon-woo away. When the two were about to leave, they were discovered by Sunyong's subordinates. The two immediately ran away as fast as they could. Finally, at the last minute, Seon-woo got into Manager Lee's car. At the same time, reporter Sung-hee discovered that the news news did not mention the Gasan Group case. After asking, she realized that she had been tricked by Sunyong. Sung-hee was angry and determined to investigate Sunyong to the end. On the other hand, Tae-min clearly wanted to pursue Hiji, so he asked her what kind of person she liked and if she was afraid of being with someone who was often possessed. However, Hiji said that she was not afraid. She even gave him roses afterwards. He decided to ask Dong-min what it meant when a girl gave flowers to a boy. Dong-min said that it was because the girl wanted to be loved. Hearing that, Tae-min opened his eyes wide in surprise. He was so happy that he couldn't help but smile. At this time, Youngran's mother had finished shopping. She also took pictures of the surrounding scene and sent them all to Sunyong. She reported that she would quickly complete the other party's request. At the same time, Ju-won was playing with two friends outside the supermarket. After the two friends went to the bathroom, it seemed that Ju-won saw something. Not long after, Dong-min received news that her son was missing. At the same time, Jung-hwa also reported the incident to the police. Jong-woo and Sung-tae both came to help search. The village's loudspeaker system also broadcast a search notice. Young-ran knew about this through the loudspeaker. She quickly checked the surveillance cameras in the village. She discovered that her mother had appeared in front of the supermarket. She also saw Ju-won getting into a car and leaving. When Young-ran was about to go out to look for her, her mother just came back. After questioning her mother for a while, Young-ran sternly warned her mother that if anything happened to Ju-won, she would not forgive her. Then, Young-ran told Dong-min that Ju-won got in a car. Then, she also drove immediately to look for her. At this time, Ju-won got out of the car. The boy kept chasing the back of a woman and called her mother. The boy was so busy running that he forgot to look at the road. When a car was about to hit Ju-won, the boy could only panic and call out mom. Luckily, Young-ran ran to save the boy. After knowing that Ju-won was looking for his mother, Young-ran hugged the boy to comfort him. At this time, Dong-min also ran over. Because he was worried, he spoke a little loudly to his son. But when he knew that his son came here just to find his mother, Dong-min immediately felt extremely heartbroken. He blamed himself for not paying attention to his son's feelings. After that, he took Ju-won and Young-ran home. On the way back, he did not forget to remind Young-ran to take care of herself more. She should not always neglect herself for others. He also admitted that he had been a bit angry just now. He did not expect that she would give him candy. After returning home, Ju-won clearly became closer to Young-ran. Ju-won took the initiative to escort the teacher into the house. He even confessed his feelings to her. Ju-won said that his father said that his mother was studying in France, but Ju-won also knew that it was not true. Young-ran also confided in Ju-won that she extremely hated her mother. She admired Ju-won because he had a father who loved him wholeheartedly because she did not have one. These words of encouragement made Ju-won feel much happier. By evening, Manager Lee and Son-woo had escaped pursuit. Manager Lee returned the phone he got from the hospital to Son-woo. Suddenly, Son-woo said he wanted to go to the bathroom, so Manager Lee took him to the gas station. However, after a while, Son-woo still hadn't returned. Manager Lee got out of the car and went to look for him, but he was unexpectedly ambushed by the enemy. While Manager Lee fell to the ground, Son-woo got in the car and ran away. Manager Lee was unfortunately considered an accomplice in this incident. The car was also taken away, and he had to pay for the gas. However, Manager Lee was not stupid. It turned out that he had installed a GPS device in Son-woo's phone. He was the one who sent Son-woo to the mental hospital, and he had predicted that Son-woo would try to escape. In just a moment, he had determined Son-woo's location through GPS. He immediately called Young-ran to inform her that Son-woo had important evidence. If they could get that evidence, all the problems would be solved easily. At that time, Sunyong was no longer a problem. However, after seeing her car, Manager Lee's good mood immediately disappeared. At that time, Sunyong took out a series of phone numbers from the safe. After contacting her, she asked the other party to help her with something. The mysterious person received a photo of Young-ran and a photo of a large fire. It was clear that Sunyong wanted the mysterious person to kill Young-ran with fire. The mysterious person agreed to do it immediately. After the mysterious person agreed to Sunyong's request, strange faces began to appear in Muchang village. This man was the new bus driver of the kindergarten. His name was Jose. As soon as she met him, Young-ran had doubts. She asked Principal Mi-sun for his resume. On his resume, the name of the transportation company was written. The company only keeps employee records for 5 years, but Jose left the company 7 years ago, so Young-ran couldn't find out anything. However, she didn't give up. She still took a photo of Jose's resume to investigate further. Meanwhile, Sung-tae also rented out his house to strangers. Sung-tae seemed dissatisfied with a long-haired man among them. In addition, to prevent the students from getting hurt, Young-ran took the bus with the students to each person's house every day. At this time, she saw the long-haired man renting Sung-tae's house. She had doubts about his identity but didn't show it. She still got on the school bus until only Ju-won was left. At this time, she also followed Ju-won off the bus. Jose's attitude from beginning to end was always cheerful and polite, but that didn't stop Young-ran from having doubts. When she got home, she still couldn't rest. What she saw was a shameless mother who took her money and spent it carelessly. This mother also demanded that her daughter give her 10 million won a month. Moreover, she only gave Young-ran a certain amount of time to prepare. On the other side, Sunyong received a call from Seon-woo. Seon-woo asked her sister if she still remembered the day Ye-rim died. He threatened that he had a video of that day. Meanwhile, manager Lee was still in the parking lot of the hotel where Seon-woo was staying. Through the wiretap, he heard the conversation between Seon-woo and Sunyong. Seon-woo asked her sister to hand over all the shares to him, otherwise he would release the video as evidence that she killed Chairman Ga's daughter. He even sent a screenshot of the video as proof. At the same time, he also gave his address to his sister. This time, Sunyong was really worried. She asked her subordinates to bring Seon-woo to see her at all costs. Manager Lee immediately called Young-ran when he heard about this. He said that Seon-woo had evidence that Sunyong had killed Ye-rim. If they could get the evidence, this war could end without anyone being harmed. What Young-ran needed to do now was to live well. After hanging up the phone, Young-ran discovered that someone was deliberately sabotaging her surveillance camera, so she immediately went out to check. Just then, Dong-min and Tae-min saw it. Dong-min immediately chased after her. Tae-min raised his head and realized that Hiji had also disappeared. He immediately felt the moonlight around him dim. At this time, Young-ran had arrived at the scene. After hearing the noise, she immediately chased after him. Sure enough, she encountered a man dressed in black. The opponent was very strong. He defeated Young-ran in just 3 moves. She desperately fought back and accidentally saw the scar on his collarbone. In the critical moment, Dong-min ran over in time. Thanks to that, Young-ran escaped death. However, the man in black quickly disappeared into the workers' dormitory. Young-ran wanted to chase after him but was stopped by Dong-min because this was a male dormitory. In the end, Dong-min personally went to check. He suspected the long-haired man that Sung-tae rented the house to, but it was late now, so they had to wait until tomorrow to meet Sung-tae to ask him before confirming. Young-ran told Dong-min about the man in black with a burn scar on his collarbone. After Dong-min understood the situation, he immediately took Young-ran's phone and set his phone number as a shortcut. That way, he could find Young-ran before the police. Unexpectedly, everything was under Hiji's surveillance. Hiji quickly returned to the residence. Just as she saw Tae-min holding flowers, Hiji directly asked the other person if he liked her. At this crucial moment, Tae-min was possessed again, but the general was very enthusiastic. Tae-min immediately confessed his feelings to Hiji. Hiji snatched the bouquet of roses. Tae-min woke up, but because he didn't know whether he had confessed or not, he felt very upset. Young-ran also returned home. After confirming that her mother was fast asleep, she checked the surveillance camera again. She discovered that Hiji was still following her. At the same time, Sunyong's subordinates found the hotel where Seon-woo was staying. Manager Lee was waiting in the hotel lobby. When he saw the pursuers, he immediately followed them. He couldn't let these people take Seon-woo away. Seon-woo was very angry when he found out that his sister didn't come in person, and he didn't dare to open the door. Manager Lee came up with the idea of pulling the fire alarm. Thanks to that, Seon-woo had a chance to escape. Everyone quickly evacuated. Manager Lee also successfully escaped to the underground parking lot. Just as Manager Lee thought everything had gone smoothly, he was suddenly attacked from behind. It was the group of thugs that Seon-woo had hired before. Early the next morning, Dong-min took Young-ran to Sung-tae's farm. Dong-min wanted to collect information related to the temporary workers there. Seeing that Sung-tae was still hesitant, Young-ran took out the student's pencil case from her bag with the intention of returning it to Jung-hwa. Sung-tae immediately grabbed the pencil case and said that he would help her with this. Sung-tae also said that he would send the related documents to Dong-min's phone. After saying that, Sung-tae quickly ran away. Meanwhile, Young-ran and Dong-min divided the tasks. Young-ran continued to work as usual, while Dong-min was responsible for finding out the specific situation of the temporary workers. At the same time, Dong-min also asked Jung-woo to increase patrols to ensure security at night. Dong-min had to protect Young-ran well. That night, Dong-min and Young-ran went to the boys' dormitory again. Dong-min went to investigate the situation, while Young-ran waited by the car. Through the surveillance camera, she discovered a man in black appeared again, so Young-ran left first and called Dong-min to inform him of the location. Dong-min immediately drove there. Just like that, the two of them blocked the path of the man in black. Of course, the man in black would not let them catch him. Because the two of them had quite good skills, they quickly controlled the other party. However, they discovered that this person was not the person they were looking for, but in fact, he was just a temporary worker here. Moreover, he always contacted the person who hired him by phone, and he had never met that person in real life. Regarding the location of the surveillance screen, the tenant himself had sent him the information. The route was clearly marked. Young Ran immediately called the tenant back. Sure enough, there was a sound coming from the dark place. The two immediately chased after them but lost them again. Only then did Dongmin realize that the person Young Ran suspected was driver Jose. However, it was already very late. The two had to return home first. When they got home, Young Ran immediately called Manager Lee, but no one answered. Unexpectedly, Manager Lee was taken away by the other group to question Son Woo's whereabouts. After knowing of their intentions, Manager Lee indicated that he was very rich. Manager Lee could completely pay back the money that Son Woo had swindled them out of. Moreover, after finding Son Woo, Manager Lee promised to pay them 100 million won every day. Before Son Woo was found, 10 million won would be deducted every day. Indeed, having money changed the bad guys' attitudes. After Manager Lee agreed to advance 50 million won, the thugs let him go. He took out his phone to transfer money to them when he received a message from Young Ran. She asked him to help investigate Jose's true identity. Manager Lee decided to pay the thugs another 100 million won to investigate Jose. Finally, the transaction was successful. At this time, Son Woo wanted to make a fake passport to leave Korea. He was informed that it would take at least 3 days to complete. Son Woo felt very annoyed and worried, but he could only wait because there was no other way. At the same time, Young Ran received a notice from Principal Mi Sun that Mi Sun would organize a soccer tournament for the villagers at the school's training ground. After finishing, they also had to organize a party together. At this time, Hiji came to the principal's office to get the lesson plan. Young Ran expressed her desire to talk to Hiji, but Hiji was busy, so it was not convenient. At the same time, Juwon and Hana accidentally spilled water on Jose, so Jose had to go change his clothes. Just then, Hiji passed by and saw a large burn scar on Jose's back. Hiji was almost discovered by him. Tan made Hiji go find Young Ran. Without beating around the bush, Young Ran directly questioned whether the other party was following her. Seeing that Hiji was discovered, she immediately admitted. Young Ran warned Hiji that no matter who ordered her, Hiji would quickly leave Muchang. Hiji seemed disappointed when Young Ran suspected her, but when Hiji saw Jose secretly staring at Young Ran, Hiji still wanted to help her friend. Hiji texted Taemin to call her in half an hour. Then she got in Jose's car to go home. On the way, Hiji kept probing, but she couldn't get any useful information. On the contrary, she made the other party angry. Hiji also did not see any scars on the other person's collarbone. Actually, Hiji asked Taemin to call her to ensure her own safety. The truth proved that she was right because Jose was indeed a dangerous person. He was the mysterious person that Young Ran was looking for. Maybe letting Young Ran die under someone else's identity was not a bad idea. Sunyong wanted Young Ran to die under Sami's identity. This would reduce a lot of trouble for Sunyong. At this time, Young Ran was still worried because she could not contact Manager Lee. Suddenly, Young Ran received a phone call from her mother. Young Ran was very upset, but she still told Dongmin to take her to pick up her mother. However, Young Ran did not take her mother home, but took her to the police station. Dongmin was a bit confused. He even felt that Young Ran was a bit too much. She explained the reason to Dongmin. She was actually wronged in the sanitary napkin theft case that year. At first, she really wanted to steal it, but then she felt that it was not good to do so. So she put the sanitary napkin package back in its original place. But the supermarket manager insisted that she had stolen the item and demanded a settlement. When Young Ran's mother arrived, instead of comforting her, she sent her daughter to a reformatory for a while. The reason was because they did not have the money for a settlement. Dongmin seemed to sympathize with this strong-looking woman. He mustered up the courage to hold her hand and said that they should go home. Very quickly, it was the Muchang Village Football Festival. Everyone was very happy to participate. The competition was also lively and exciting. Very quickly, the whole day passed in joy. At dinner time, Young Ran was still busy welcoming the villagers. After receiving a call from Manager Lee, Young Ran went to a secluded place. They confirmed that Jose was the man in black. So Young Ran sent a message to Jose. She told him to come to her house before 9 o'clock. Then she also went home. Jose received the message and used the excuse of going to the bathroom to leave the gathering place. Hiji quickly discovered that Young Ran was no longer there, so she also went towards Young Ran's house. At this time, Dongmin and Taemin had bought things. Dongmin discovered that Young Ran, Hiji, and Jose were no longer there, so he immediately called Young Ran but could not contact her. He felt something was wrong, so he worriedly drove to look for her. At this time, Jose's expression suddenly changed from gentle to fierce. In his hand, he held a can of gasoline and a syringe. Then he knocked on Young Ran's door. No one answered, so he went straight inside. Suddenly, Young Ran put a gun to the back of his neck. Jose slowly slowly turned around and dropped the gun from Youngran's hand. He directly squeezed her from behind. Then he tied her to a chair and poured gasoline all over her. Then he calmly turned on the lighter. However, Hiji suddenly appeared and knocked him down. Hiji hurriedly went to call Youngran to wake up. Unexpectedly, Jose woke up. He pulled out a dagger and stabbed Hiji. Finally, he threw Hiji aside. At this time, Youngran woke up, but she had absolutely no strength to escape. She could only sit and watch the other side load the gun and point the barrel straight at her. In the critical moment, Dongmin arrived in time. The two men immediately wrestled with each other. In the chaos, Dongmin grabbed the gun from the other side's hand. The police siren suddenly sounded nearby. Jose had no choice but to abandon his mission and quickly escape. Dongmin guessed that Hiji had called the police. The ambulance arrived, and Youngran got in the ambulance and went to the hospital. The next morning, Youngran woke up and knew that Hiji was undergoing surgery. Youngran quickly contacted Manager Lee to explain the situation. She also asked Manager Lee to arrange for Hiji to be transferred to the best hospital in Seoul. After finishing the arrangements, Youngran returned home and found that her mother had disappeared. Youngran decided to change her plans. She would leave Muchang and return to Chairman Ga's mansion. Ju-won cried when he realized that his teacher was about to leave. He also carefully asked his teacher to write her phone number on his hand. He wanted to call her every few days. Youngran also couldn't bear to leave Ju-won, so she agreed to write her phone number as he asked. Then Ju-won asked about the bracelet he gave his teacher. He said it was a lucky bracelet and he hoped that his teacher would always wear it. Youngran hooked her fingers with Ju-won. Then she put on the bracelet and promised not to take it off. A while later, Dongmin arrived at Youngran's house, but the house was empty. Youngran had moved into Chairman Ga's mansion. Manager Lee asked Youngran about her next plan. Youngran said that she would confront Sunyong directly next. Youngran would hold a public press conference to reveal her identity. During this time, Manager Lee must find the video recording of Sunyong murdering Ye Rim. Youngran believed that if she revealed herself, Sunyong would not dare to harm her. However, Manager Lee did not agree with this plan. If he could not find the video, they would have to give up Chairman Ga's revenge plan. But Youngran swore that if the plan failed in the end, she would personally eliminate Sunyong. Jose was coming to see Sunyong. To Sunyong, Jose was her most loyal subordinate. In the name of a professor at the Academy of Drama, Sunyong went to prison to provide psychological therapy to prisoners through art. At that time, Sunyong had an eye on the prisoner Jose's file. He was imprisoned for killing his biological parents, and during his sentence, he had no intention of repenting. Using her acting talent, Sunyong evoked Jose's emotional wounds. She hinted that the person Jose had harmed was not his parents but the devil. Therefore, he did not need to repent. Thus, Sunyong completely manipulated Jose. On the day Ho Southeast went to court, Sunyong came to see him and gave him a new name. Then, she gave him a photo of Chairman Ga's biological daughter. And this time too, she said that the person in the photo was the devil. Jose felt that Sunyong had given him a second life. Therefore, he absolutely obeyed Sunyong's orders. This mission failed, making Sunyong dissatisfied with Jose. She reminded Jose not to forget the mission of purifying the world. Hiji was still in a coma. The doctor was not sure when she would wake up. At this time, Manager Lee came to see a female worker. Her name was Beol-nae, and she was a colleague of Youngran's mother. Beol-nae had previously followed Manager Lee's arrangement to monitor Youngran's mother. Currently, Manager Lee wanted to bring Beol-nae to Chairman Ga's villa. He had arranged for her to be a housekeeper. He told her to supervise the housekeeper Choi and the driver Yang. Regarding Manager Lee's arbitrary arrangement, Youngran felt dissatisfied because she did not want to drag more innocent people into this matter. However, Manager Lee reminded Youngran that the chairman's goal was only one, which was to avenge his daughter at all costs, and Manager Lee hoped that Youngran would remember this. Soon after, Butler Choi informed Sunyong of Youngran's return to the mansion. Another of Sunyong's subordinates also reported that Youngran would hold a press conference tomorrow. Facing the current situation, Sunyong remained calm and composed. It seemed that she had already come up with a plan in her heart. Meanwhile, Ju-won and Dongmin were missing Youngran very much. Even Ju-won's favorite canned meat couldn't cheer her up. Principal Mi-sun revealed to Dongmin that a real teacher would come to Muchang tomorrow. At that time, the new teacher would stay in the old house where Youngran used to live. So Mi-sun told Dongmin to clean that house first. Then Dongmin also started cleaning the house. He saw the character map of Muchang. Youngran had recorded their personality traits and emotional relationships in detail. She even specially marked the relationship between her and Dongmin as a master-servant relationship. Dongmin missed Youngran more and more. In the Seoul villa, Manager Lee reminded Youngran that once she appeared publicly at the press conference, she would never be able to return to her previous life. Youngran's eyes were firm. This time, she did not regret anything. The next day, Young Ran officially appeared at the press conference as the chairman's wife. She answered countless questions from reporters. She announced that the late chairman's will would be announced at the upcoming shareholders meeting. A reporter asked Young Ran if she married the chairman for love or for money. Young Ran firmly replied that she really married the late chairman for love. The people of Muchang were buzzing about this news. Dong Min also saw this news. When Dong Min saw Young Ran declare that she married the chairman out of love, an indescribable sadness rose in her heart. At the press conference, Young Ran did not avoid any of the reporters' questions. She remained confident and calm from beginning to end. Meanwhile, Sunyong entered the elevator with a middle-aged man she did not know. A moment after the elevator door opened, Sunyong appeared with serious injuries. At the press conference, the reporters continued to question Young Ran. Young Ran only emphasized that whether the truth would be revealed or not was entirely up to Son Woo. After saying that, Young Ran left the press conference under the escort of manager Lee. Son Woo was hiding in the hotel. There was not a single moment when he was not worried and uneasy. With the press conference ending, all the people of Muchang knew Young Ran's true identity. Immediately, some people criticized Young Ran as a gold digger. She only married Chairman Ga for money. Some people also defended her, saying that Young Ran was a good teacher and was always loved by her students. Dong Min took the new teacher to the house where Young Ran used to live. He acted quite distant towards the new teacher. The local police were investigating Jose, but the house where he lived was now empty. Inside the house, Dong Min discovered a small painting of a burned woman. He immediately remembered Jose pouring gasoline with the intention of burning Young Ran alive. Dong Min secretly hid the painting. On this side, Young Ran was about to face an extremely dangerous situation. The man who attacked Sunyong went to the police station to confess. He lied that Young Ran had asked him to do this. Reporter Sung Hee knew the man's identity and immediately contacted manager Lee. When she heard the man's name, Young Ran had a strange expression, because this person is her mother's lover. In this critical situation, manager Lee seemed very worried. According to what he knew, the man had submitted evidence accusing Young Ran of inciting him to murder. Manager Lee was annoyed and said that he did not want to continue dealing with the consequences of Young Ran. He thought that Chairman Ga might have overestimated Young Ran. This time, Young Ran was really at a dead end. As she had predicted, her mother had taken advantage of her. The mother did everything according to Sunyong's instructions. She was then awarded 500 million won. At the same time, Sunyong also investigated the blood relationship between Mi-sun and manager Lee. Sunyong used this information to threaten manager Lee. In order to protect his family, manager Lee seemed to have to make a choice he did not want. Meanwhile, Taemin planned to go to Seoul to visit Hiji. During the conversation, he realized that Dong Min liked Young Ran. However, Dong Min was a bit self-conscious because he was a single father. Dong Min was unsure whether he should keep his feelings. Taemin reminded Dong Min that love should be given with all his heart, not with hesitation and consideration. After consulting with his friend, Dong Min decided to face himself. Then he and his best friend went to a place where he could confess his feelings to the girl he loved. Here, Dong Min gathered all his courage to confess to Young Ran. He said that he missed her very much. In his eyes, she was a kind person, and she made his heart flutter. However, Young Ran firmly rejected this confession. She expressed that she did not like him enough to give up her dream. Young Ran also said that after everything was over, she would leave this country. She would leave everything behind to go to a place where no one knew her. Although Young Ran rejected Dong Min's confession, her thoughts were seen through by the housekeeper, Beol-nae. Beol-nae sat next to Young Ran to comfort her. Normally strong, Young Ran was now sad and crying. She felt that her life was too complicated. Her future was full of unpredictable dangers. Meanwhile, Dong Min was a good and warm man. Even though she liked Dong Min, she still had to pretend to be cold to him. Dong Min returned to Muchang and confided in her friends. The news said that Young Ran was a bad person, but the Young Ran he knew was definitely a kind girl. She always shouldered everything alone because she was afraid of hurting others. Dong Min was not sad because Young Ran rejected him. He was sad because he could not do anything to help her. The environment Young Ran was living in was really dangerous. The next day, the police came to the villa. They arrested Young Ran on suspicion of inciting others to murder Sunyong. Young Ran did not resist. She knew clearly that everything was Sunyong's scheme. After arriving at the police station, Young Ran met her mother's lover again. For Young Ran, that man was her childhood nightmare because he had done bad things to her when she was little. Out of fear, Young Ran hid in the bathroom. However, when she saw the bracelet that Ju-won gave her on her wrist, Young Ran immediately gathered all her courage to face this matter. The police presented evidence of the bank transfer. They tried to use this evidence to prove that Young Ran had hired someone to kill her stepchild. Young Ran refused to answer any questions and asked to speak privately with the man who accused her. He continued to slander her, but Young-ran calmly dealt with it. She presented a recording in which her mother's words were spoken. In the recording, her mother admitted that she had asked her lover to do bad things, but the mastermind was someone else. Thanks to this recording, Young-ran temporarily escaped from suspicion. The man still threatened Young-ran like before, but this time, she was no longer afraid. She called him a bastard. She declared that he would pay for his evil deeds. Meanwhile, Manager Lee was also trying to save himself. Yesterday, Manager Lee was kidnapped and threatened by Sunyong, but Manager Lee was very smart. When the gangsters were not paying attention, he secretly untied the ropes and guessed the password to the drawer. He quickly took out his phone. When he checked, he saw a message from Beol Nai. From there, he knew that Young-ran had been taken away by the police. After watching the news, he understood the reason. Despite his fear of heights, Manager Lee decided to escape through the second-floor window. Fortunately, he escaped successfully. Immediately after that, he went to the police station to pick up Young-ran. Then Young-ran went to see a woman. She was a friend of Young-ran's mother, and she was the one who provided the recording evidence to Young-ran. She sympathized with Young-ran's situation since she was little. She hoped that Young-ran would win this battle. But to do that, Young-ran had to get evidence of Sunyong's crime from her younger brother. Recently, because of her sister's threats, Sonwoo planned to escape abroad by boat. However, escaping required money. For this reason, Sonwoo contacted Young-ran. Young-ran said that as long as Sonwoo handed over the evidence to her, she would be responsible for sending Sunyong to hell. Sonwoo could also escape from her sister's control from here. However, before Sonwoo could answer, Young-ran decisively ended the call. She believed that Sonwoo was in a deadlock, so he would definitely contact her again. As expected, Young-ran was right. A few minutes later, Sonwoo called her again. He agreed to give the evidence to Young-ran. In return, she had to prepare 300 million in cash and bring it to the pier tonight. The two sides had reached an agreement. On this side, Dongmin was also examining the painting he had stolen from Jose's house. The painting had the name of a museum engraved on it. Based on this clue, Dongmin went online to look it up. From there, he found information related to Sunyong organizing activities at the museum. Then he discovered that Sunyong had helped prisoner Jose with psychological therapy. After realizing the relationship between the two, Dongmin began to look for information about Sunyong. He read the news that Sunyong would be organizing a play at the theater tonight, so Dongmin sneaked into the theater alone. Sure enough, he witnessed Jose sneaking into the theater's area. Sunyong told Jose that the evidence of her instigating him to kill Yerim was in Sonwoo's hands. If this evidence was revealed, the group would fall into someone else's hands. After saying that, Sunyong handed Jose a card. On the back of the card was the address of a port, and that place was her brother's hideout. It turned out that the man in charge of illegal immigration at the port had revealed this information to Sunyong. At this time, Seonwoo was urging this man. Seonwoo planned to leave immediately after receiving the money tonight. Young-ran had prepared cash to meet Seonwoo. Before leaving, Young-ran did not forget to bring a gun. Dongmin was also secretly following Jose. Then Jose went to meet the man in charge of illegal immigration. Under Jose's threat, the man revealed the time Seonwoo planned to leave. Then Jose redirected the car to the pier. Dongmin also followed closely behind. At the same time, Young-ran and Manager Lee arrived at the pier. Young-ran went to make a deal with Seonwoo, while Manager Lee stayed nearby to guard and wait. While waiting, Manager Lee received a call from Dongmin. Dongmin told Manager Lee everything. After receiving the information, Manager Lee told Dongmin to stay there and absolutely not to act on his own. On this side, Young-ran successfully met Seonwoo. At the same time, Seonwoo also brought a USB. It contained evidence of her biological sister's crime. Seeing the other party's attitude, Young-ran knew he was telling the truth and that the USB contained evidence. So she gave Seonwoo cash. Unexpectedly, when Young-ran was about to take the USB, a gunshot rang out, causing Seonwoo to collapse. Jose rushed forward as if he wanted to kill Young-ran immediately, but Young-ran had prepared in advance. She held the gun in her hand and actively attacked the other party. During the fight, Young-ran gained the upper hand. She pointed her gun at Jose and asked who ordered him to do this. She almost couldn't believe that Sunyong would harm her own brother, but unexpectedly, Jose went crazy. He laughed loudly and pulled the trigger of Young-ran's pistol. Thus, Jose died on the spot. Dongmin and Manager Lee heard the gunshot and ran over one by one. It turned out that Sunyong had planned it all along. Near the pier, police sirens sounded. Everyone realized that the current situation was a trap set by Sunyong. Manager Lee decisively wiped the fingerprints off Young-ran's gun. Then he stuffed the gun into Jose's hand. Then he tried to take Young-ran away. However, the police sirens got closer and closer. The pier was surrounded by police. Dongmin suggested that Young-ran and Manager Lee leave first. Dongmin would stay behind to buy them time to escape. But Young-ran couldn't leave Dongmin alone. Manager Lee tried to convince her. He promised that he would definitely save Dongmin. Now Youngran had to protect herself first so that she could turn the situation around later. Youngran was convinced. Before leaving, she hugged Dongmin and swore that she would save him. At Manager Lee's urging, Youngran hurriedly left the scene. Soon after, Dongmin was surrounded by police cars on all sides. He was suspected of killing Seon-woo and was immediately arrested. Sunyong then saw her brother's body. She knew that the USB was destroyed by Hosei. Dongmin was made a suspect in Hosei's murder. Sunyong quickly contacted Youngran. Sunyong said that if Youngran wanted to save Dongmin, Youngran had to personally meet Sunyong. Youngran brought a gun to the meeting place. She angrily scolded Sunyong for being inhumane for killing her own brother. But Sunyong still kept a cold attitude. Sunyong had prepared a will for Youngran. Sunyong told Youngran to sign it in exchange for Dongmin's life. Youngran pointed the gun at Sunyong, but when she thought of Dongmin, she still couldn't do it. Youngran returned to the villa in despair. While she was having trouble thinking, she intended to use the gun to end her life. But at this moment, the president who she thought was dead appeared in front of Youngran. He questioned why she wanted to give up at this point. Youngran suddenly looked at President Ga in surprise. She didn't know if this was a dream or reality. Immediately after, Manager Lee appeared with an equally surprised expression. Manager Lee asked why the president went out. Youngran grabbed Manager Lee's collar and blamed him for hiding this from her. President Ga explained that overthrowing Sunyong was not an easy thing. In order to win this war, he had made some plans long ago, and he realized that if he really left, Sunyong would not easily forgive Youngran. Therefore, Chairman Ga decided to amend the will. In addition to Youngran inheriting all of his assets, she would also succeed to the position of chairman of the group. He wanted to borrow the power of the group to fight Sunyong. At this time, Chairman Ga fell ill again. Manager Lee hurriedly took him to the secret room to get an injection. The next day, Manager Lee explained Chairman Ga's current situation to Youngran. The symptoms of the disease were getting worse, and the chairman's body could no longer accept treatment. Therefore, Manager Lee handed over the chairman's will to Youngran. According to the chairman's orders, Youngran could not wait for the shareholders' meeting anymore. She had to announce this will at Sun Woo's funeral. For the chairman, what he wanted was to witness Sunyong's end with his own eyes. As for Manager Lee, helping the chairman is not only for money, but also for gratitude. Because that year, Chairman Ga helped Manager Lee go to school. Youngran also gradually realized that Manager Lee's purpose of working was no longer just for money, but he wanted to expose Sunyong's evil deeds. They were determined to make her receive appropriate punishment. As the chairman's wife, Youngran decided to fire housekeeper Choi and driver Yang. Later, Youngran will go to the police station with Manager Lee to visit Dongmin. Manager Lee told Youngran to stay in the car, while Manager Lee went in alone to meet Dongmin as Dongmin's lawyer. However, what Dongmin was more worried about was Youngran. Dongmin hoped that Youngran would not be hurt. Manager Lee gave Dongmin a piece of paper. In it was what Youngran had written. Youngran promised to get Dongmin out quickly. Dongmin completely trusted her, but now the police wanted to take Dongmin to jail. Manager Lee argued that the evidence was not enough, and he thought that the police's actions were not in accordance with regulations. However, the police officer stated that the evidence at the scene could not prove Dongmin's innocence. Seeing Dongmin being taken away, Manager Lee immediately took action. He asked a group of people to search for Hosei's body in the hospital. Chairman Ga's mental state was very good now. Youngran cooked instant noodles for him. That was what Dongmin had taught her. Chairman Ga felt that Dongmin was a good person, and Chairman Ga also said that he trusted Youngran. That's why Chairman Ga tried to get to this point. Youngran went to see the new housekeeper and asked her to help choose an outfit to wear to Sunwoo's funeral. The next day, Youngran wore a red outfit to the funeral. After offering flowers, Youngran approached Sunyong. Youngran said that the other party must be disappointed that Youngran is not dead. Manager Lee then announced Chairman Ga's will to the public. He asked the shareholders to make Youngran the group's chairman. When Sunyong heard the will, she tried to hide her emotions. She threatened the shareholders after Youngran left. Soon after, Manager Lee received a phone call. The person he sent found Hosei's body. Yesterday, Sunyong contacted a prosecutor. She asked the other party to clean up Hosei's body. The subordinates acted quickly. They went to the hospital to take Hosei's body away. Fortunately, Youngran arrived in time. She accused the hospital of not following the relevant rules. While the two sides were arguing, Manager Lee suddenly arrived with a group of bodyguards and Hosei's aunt. After seeing the body, she confirmed that it was her grandson. From now on, Hosei was no longer an unknown person. Sunyong was extremely angry when she heard the news. She ordered her subordinates to contact the police to handle this matter. This police officer was in collusion with Sunyong, so he lied to the forensic doctor. But this time, Youngran and Manager Lee arrived arrived in time. They also brought another police officer. This person took over the file to investigate and examine the case. Next, as long as Jose's autopsy report was released smoothly, Dongmin would be released. Manager Lee came up with an idea. It was thanks to the help of his sister Se-mi. Then, Yongran discovered that Chairman Ga could not fight the disease for much longer. Chairman Ga did not even remember who he was. Yongran knew that she had to act faster so that when Chairman Ga regained consciousness, he could witness Sunyong's end. So Yongran asked the new housekeeper to help her pay attention to the area downstairs. If there was a suspicious person, she had to report to Yongran immediately. The next day, Se-mi arrived in Seoul. Surprisingly, Se-mi also brought some of the residents of Muchang. Everyone came to save Dongmin. The police showed everyone Jose's photo. The residents immediately recognized that he had come to Muchang to work as a school bus driver. He then tried to kill someone. The problem was that they did not witness his attack with their own eyes. At this time, Hiji went to the police station. Fortunately, Hiji also woke up from her coma last night. She clearly remembered the wound on Jose's body. She testified that Jose was the one who tried to kill Yongran that day. Witness testimony is the strongest evidence. Then Se-mi brought Manager Lee the letter written by the kindergarten students. Manager Lee delivered this letter to Yongran. The letter expressed the students' feelings for their teacher. Manager Lee also brought another piece of good news. The investigation results showed that Jose had ended his own life. Yongran was overjoyed by this news. Next, it was Sunyong's turn to pay for her actions. The two contacted reporters to hand over evidence related to the incident. They also explained the relationship between Jose and Sunyong. Knowing that Sunyong had instigated Jose to kill her younger brother, Sung-hee vowed to expose Sunyong's crimes to the media. The next day, the police came to see Sunyong and took her to the police station for questioning. However, Sunyong had long prepared for this situation. At this moment, Sunyong's subordinates came forward to confess. Sunyong then contacted the prosecutor and the police, but no one responded to her. Now no one was on her side anymore. Housekeeper Choi was packing her luggage to leave the villa. As a result, she unexpectedly saw Chairman Ga. At this time, he appeared with a dull face and a dirty body. She immediately realized that he was just a crazy old man. So she took a photo with Chairman Ga. Then she sent the photo to Sunyong to ask for money. Sunyong asked the housekeeper to turn off all the surveillance cameras and leave the villa. On the same day, Dongmin was released from prison. Manager Lee and Yongran came to pick up Dongmin. But at this time, Yongran received a phone call from the new housekeeper. Thanks to that, she knew that Sunyong had broken into the villa. Yongran immediately returned to the villa. In the dark, Sunyong went deep into the villa. Finally, she met the living chairman. Chairman Ga thought Sunyong was his biological daughter. He thought his daughter was still alive. He told her to be careful of Sunyong. He said that Sunyong was a scary monster, but also a pitiful child. It turned out that many years ago, Chairman Ga had witnessed Sunyong's mother kill her ex-husband. Hearing her stepfather say that she was pitiful, Sunyong got angry. She picked up the sharp knife next to her and repeatedly hit the chairman. Then Sunyong used the chairman's hand to press on the fake will. When Yongran returned, it was too late. Manager Lee tried his best to calm Yongran down. The group's shareholders meeting was about to take place. They still had to have one last match with Sunyong. Dongmin then wanted to go see Yongran. However, at this time, Yongran had no intention of meeting anyone. Manager Lee told Dongmin to go to Muchang first because Yongran still had work to do here. Before leaving, Dongmin sent Yongran a message. He advised her to contact him at any time. Sunyong then called a shareholders meeting. This meeting would decide the candidate for the position of chairman. The shareholders received the will before the voting. The chairman's will was forged by Sunyong. Because of this will and Sunyong's threats, more than half of the shareholders voted for her to become the next chairman. Sunyong's goal had finally come true. With the posture of a winner, Sunyong went on stage to give a speech after the election. However, unexpectedly, images and sounds suddenly appeared on the big screen. In the video, the chairman directly denounced the person who killed his daughter. Next, the video showed Sunyong's image. On the screen, Sunyong not only attacked the chairman, but also frankly admitted that she was the one who killed his biological daughter. It turned out that the chairman was not sick that day. He was still completely sober. It was all a disguise to anger Sunyong so that she could reveal her crimes. This video was discovered by Yongran. She noticed the bronze lion statue in the living room where there was a hidden camera. Sunyong's entire crime was recorded. Yongran gave the evidence to the police, and the police went to the shareholders meeting to arrest Sunyong. Then, as the chairman's wife, Yongran declared that Sunyong's will was a forgery. At the same time, Yongran had no intention of executing the chairman's real will. Instead, Yongran wanted to hand over the chairmanship to someone else who was capable. On the other hand, when she knew that Sunyong had been arrested, her subordinate finally lost patience. He admitted admitted everything he had done and said that it was all Sunyong's instigation. The situation in the courtroom not long after that surprised Sunyong. Youngran testified that Sunyong murdered the chairman's younger brother and biological daughter. Youngran sent a copy of the video recording Sunyong raping the chairman's biological daughter. The prosecutor asked the court to sentence Sunyong to death. Hearing this, Sunyong completely collapsed. Sunyong's lawyer also resigned immediately. Sunyong finally received the punishment she deserved. After that, Youngran and manager Lee visited Chairman Ga's grave. They hoped that Chairman Ga could be in another world and reunite with her daughter. Youngran met Dongmin and she kept apologizing to him. Youngran felt that she was not kind. She was even greedy for money. However, Dongmin interrupted her. He affirmed that she was the best person in the world. He hoped that she could return to Muchan and that he would wait until she was ready. Youngran then visited Hiji and gave Hiji a ballet dress. At the same time, she agreed that they would become friends from now on. Saimi also received a letter informing her that the nearby land had been bought by Youngran and the government granted permanent use rights to the kindergarten. Saimi felt very excited. She looked forward to the day Youngran returned to Muchang. Youngran also turned off the surveillance camera in the secret room. Suddenly, she discovered that the chairman had left her a video. In the video, the chairman apologized for involving Youngran in his revenge plan. He hoped that in the coming days, Youngran could find the person she loved and live a happy life. Hearing the chairman's last words, Youngran cried like rain. In prison, Sunyong met a special friend. That was Youngran's mother. Now she is the leader of the prison. She and her subordinates taught Sunyong a lesson. Many days later, manager Lee returned to Chairman Ga's house, but he noticed that Youngran was not there. There was a photo in the chairman's secret room. It was a photo taken when he graduated from university. There was a message on the back. The chairman hoped that he could show his full potential. Youngran also left a farewell message for him. After 6 months, Hiji married Tai Min in Muchang. What surprised the residents was that their teacher Youngran had returned. Youngran had come to Hiji's wedding on purpose. On the beach, Dongmin was waiting for Youngran. Dongmin then confessed his feelings to Youngran. He hoped that she would stay here with him from now on. Dongmin gave Youngran a kiss in the sunset. The drama has come to an end. Thank you for your attention and watching. Goodbye and see you again.